members of the class of 2013, university colleagues, family, friends, and honored guests, please join me in welcoming the 47th Vice President of the United States, Joseph R. Biden, Jr.
Thank you. Thank you, Provost Price. Thank you very much. It's an honor to be with you today. Thank you all. Please be seated. Madam President, the last time I was in Franklin Field, I was watching my oldest son before a crowd of hundreds play lightweight football against Harvard, and I believe won. And as I was saying to my co-honorees today, this is a much cheaper way to get a degree, isn't it? Madam President, thank you. Thank you for the honor. I don't know whether I have the dubious distinction of not having a, well, let me put it this way. There'll be no U-Haul truck behind my casket. When I did my financial disclosure as Vice President the first time, the Washington Post said, quote, "It's probable no man has entered the office of Vice President, assumed the office of Vice President with fewer assets than Joe Biden." I hope they were talking financial assets. And then there was all this discussion about why I had no money. I'll tell you why I had no money. 4 years at Penn, 3 years at Syracuse, 4 years at Georgetown, 3 years at Yale, 2 years at Tulane, 2 years at Penn, and now a granddaughter at Penn. I was asked why I wore a Penn tie. My answer is I earned it. I earned it. Faculty, distinguished guests, parents, grandparents, friends, all graduates, congratulations, and special congratulations and thanks to those of you who are going to be commissioned in the United States Military Day. You are about to join the finest group of warriors the world has ever seen. Ever seen. My hat is off to you. And to all the parents, I offer you special congratulations today. Not only have your sons and daughters completed an education at what my daughter and my granddaughter and my son both say is the finest university in America. I'm not sure how my son who went to Yale feels about that, but I happen to agree with my other sons. Ladies and gentlemen, parents, you're also about to get a pay raise, unless your child is going on to graduate school. As I indicated, 2 of my children have graduated from this great university. My granddaughter, who's here with me today, just finished her first year and survived pledging at Penn. So your pride is justified, not only because it took an awful lot of hard work for all of you to get to this day. I promise you, all of you graduates, it's worth it. I read the headline today on the way up in the Associated Press that said, "Biden to offer advice to Penn graduates." I have gained too much wisdom to offer any advice. I've been around too long to know that's not useful, but I would like to make a couple of observations. No graduating class gets to choose the world into which they graduate. Every graduating class faces unique challenges. Every class enters a history that up to this point has been written for you. But few enter at a point where they genuinely have a chance to write a new chapter, to bend history just a little bit. I would suggest your class has that chance. And I acknowledge it creates anxiety. Probably more, and I mean this seriously, among your parents than you. I understand, because my generation faced the same kind of questions and uncertainty. All you have to do is look at the headlines when I graduated in 1968 and now. And today, you see headlines in the Washington Post, January 2nd, 2013, saying, "The world is baffled by the fiscal cliff. Seize it as a sign of America's decline." The July after I graduated in '68, the same publication declared, "Pollsters report decline in U.S. standing abroad." When you see the headlines from the Wall Street Journal of November this past year about, quote, "widespread fiscal and economic uncertainty," I remember the headline in April of '68 in the same publication that said, "U.S. in worst fiscal crisis since 1931. My generation heard the same voices of doom and despair that your generation hears today. American decline. America's lost its way. Whither America? What those voices do not and did not understand is that in both instances, yours and mine, we graduated into a world that had changed. In the world of William Butler Yeats, writing about his Ireland in a poem called Easter Sunday, 1916, he said, "All's changed, changed utterly. A terrible beauty has been born." Old answers, the policies of the previous generation that had served my generation so well, had little applicability to the world into which I was graduating. On the eve of my graduation, Dr. King had been assassinated. The Vietnam War was raging. In the shadow of my convention, Robert Kennedy was assassinated. Our political system was in chaos. But as we strode across that stage to receive our diplomas, to a person, we were absolutely confident that the naysayers were wrong and that there were significant possibilities available to us. We ended the war in Vietnam. We ended the nuclear stalemate. The Soviet Union secured civil rights, fundamentally altered women's rights for the better, began an environmental movement that's far from finished, ushered in an information age that shrunk the world beyond recognition, and in the process laid the foundation for a period of technological innovation that generated the world's strongest economy in the 70s, 80s, and the 90s. And today, you're all graduating into another world that has changed equally as profoundly. Different dangers and different possibilities. Climate change left unattended by people with whom I work, and I marvel at whether they got an education. No, I'm serious. To deny climate change today, as my brother Jim would say, go figure. International terrorism, stateless actors, pandemic disease, a political movement that can be organized from your cell phone. Twitter can literally unleash a revolution, and groundbreaking journalism can be transmitted around the world from your kitchen table. Today's technology has transformed the way we interact with the rest of the world and among one another. There are more voices today than ever influencing governments and the course of events. So it should be no surprise why those who understand this world less well than you do feel uneasy. But I'm not at all surprised by the confidence you all feel today as you graduate from this great university. You are so much better prepared, and you've already begun to change things significantly, even before you've stepped off this field. Just look at what's happened since you've entered high school. The fundamental shift that's taken place in America with regard to the LGBT community. Fundamental. Now an absolute majority of the American people are fully supportive of extending all rights to the LGBT community, including the right to choose who they marry. 11 states have already moved on marriage equality. That's you. That's you. On immigration, there's now overwhelming support among the American people to bring 11 million undocumented men, women, and children out of the shadows on the path to earn citizenship. And that's all changed within the last 4 years. We've ended the war in Iraq, and we will end the war in Afghanistan. And economically, we regained our footing. Today, we're better positioned than any nation in the world to lead the 21st century. I love to hear people tell me how, to use the vernacular, China is going to eat our lunch. China's a great nation, and we should hope for the continued expansion. But ladies and gentlemen, their problems are immense, and they lack much of what we have. We have the best universities in the world. We have a legal system that's open and fair. We have the most agile venture capital system in the world. We lead the world in innovation and technology, all for a simple, basic reason. Steve Jobs, speaking at Stanford, was asked by a young man, "How can I be more like you? How can I become like you?" And Jobs famously answered, "Think different." You cannot think different in a nation where you cannot breathe free. You cannot think different in a nation where you are unable to challenge orthodoxy, because change only comes from challenging orthodoxy. And what you've learned at this great university and throughout this system is to challenge orthodoxy. That's why today our economy is still 2.5 times bigger than any other in the world. Our workers are 3 times as productive as any worker in the world. High-tech manufacturing is coming back to the United States, and your generation has already joined the ranks of those who are leading the world in innovation and job creation. And we're about to enter an era of breathtaking change and progress. We're on the cusp of innovations that will literally change the world. And some of the people who I have the honor of being honored with today with degrees can tell you more about this than I can, because they're already changing the world we live in. A world where there'll be superconductors capable of performing 1,000,000 trillion calculations per second, which is 100 times faster than any computer on Earth today. It will revolutionize science, medicine, applied technology. 3D printers able to restore tissue after traumatic injury, restore skin damaged by fire to unblemished skin. The ability to regenerate organs and limbs that have been damaged or lost, saving tens of thousands of lives and restoring our wounded warriors to their full capabilities. The ability in the near term of engineer your white blood cells to attack cancer tumors and leave healthy cells untouched, allowing cancer patients to live out their lives without undergoing difficult and painful chemotherapy and radiation procedures. The ability to sequence the entire human genome in under an hour, delivering rapid, personalized medicine. Prosthetic legs, they're able to climb mountains. Prosthetic arms, able to play the piano. I've watched just in the last 4 years, visiting well over 1,500 amputees, the radical change that is taking place, restoring them full capacity, and it's only now just beginning. An era when utilities will make as much money saving a kilowatt hour as generating a kilowatt hour. Electric vehicles traveling 300 miles and filling up on electrons cheaper than gasoline. Strong, lightweight materials now used by NASA, cheap enough to use in cars, trucks, and wind machines. Solar energy as cheap as coal and natural gas generation before the end of this decade. Microbes and nanotechnology lowering the cost and time required to clean waste by 50%. Real-time speech translation allowing you to talk with anyone in any language at any time. High-fidelity holographic video conferencing, dramatically reducing the need for air travel. Automatically precise manufacturing, allowing us to create materials that are stronger than steel in a fraction of the way. Self-driving automobiles, reducing traffic fatalities by 80% while freeing up our commute times. A world in which hunger is vanquished by crops that don't need soil, water, fertilizer, or pesticides to thrive. I'm not making this up. The Office of Science Technology, the President's group, every president's a group of brilliant scientists, part of which are headed by your president, who come and advise us on those things that are just on the cusp. By the time you stand before your children graduating from this great university, much of what I said will already have happened. All these things are on the horizon, and all of it will not only change the way we live, but will create millions upon millions of new, good-paying jobs. And you're a part of it. In fact, you're going to build it. You will take advantage of it. So today, for all the uncertainty you may feel, never forget, the future is within your control. Don't listen to the cynics. That's the only piece of advice I will give you, and of which I am absolutely certain. They're wrong about my generation, and they're wrong about yours. Graduates, as a statement of history, it's never, ever, ever been a good bet to bet against America. And it's a very bad bet to bet against your generation. You're the most competent, capable, caring generation this country has ever produced. And I'm confident you'll write a new and better chapter of American history. So have faith. Have faith. Do what you feel in your heart. The possibilities are unlimited. I spent 10 days with President Xi, the new president of China, at the request of then President Hu and President Obama to establish a personal relationship. Tip O'Neill made famous the expression, all politics is local. Far be it from me to improve upon my friend Tip O'Neill, but I think all politics is personal, including international politics. Ladies and gentlemen, I looked and listened to the questions he had to ask and the interest he had. And the president asked me, what did I think after 10 days, 5 in China and 5 here? And I said, he's a strong, bright man, but he has the look of a man who's about to take on a job he's not at all sure is going to end well. And I mean that seriously. We are so well positioned. We are so well positioned to lead the world in the 21st century that we have to take advantage of it. And you, this is not hyperbole, you, all those receiving your graduate and undergraduate degrees today, are the people who are going to make it possible. So I say to you, congratulations and very good luck, class of 2013. Show us what you can do, because you will be able to do more and live through a period of change more rapid and exhilarating and exciting than any generation in the history of the world. I'm just happy I'm going to be along for part of the ride. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops.